Hello my friends, Gene from Regular Guy Mountain Biking. In this video, we'll be checking out tire plugs. We're going to see how they work. We're going to talk about a few different types of tire plugs that I have. I'll share with you some tips and tricks, and we'll have some fun. So let's go check it out. Okay my friends, Gene from Regular Guy Mountain Biking. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we start talking about tire plugs, I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video. The sponsor of this video is my wife. She made me this really cool mountain biking t-shirt. I thought it was super cool of her. I love her very much and I want to thank her. And again, I want to thank her for sponsoring this video. Now let's start talking about tire plugs. In this video, we'll be looking at 3 different style plugs that I have available to me to show you. This certainly isn't an exhausted list of all the types of tire plugs that are on the market, but these are the ones that I have, and I'd like to share them with you and show you how they work. The first type of plug that we'll be talking about today happens to come from a company called Lezyne. Now there's no particular order that I picked these in, I just had to start someplace. It's a bit thicker than you might expect, all right? It is apparently designed with some kind of special adhesive, at least this is what I learned from the website, to help it adhere to the rubber tire better, to help with the sealing, okay? But this is one of the types of plugs that we'll be checking out today. The next style plug that we'll be talking about came with this pretty cool Wolftooth multi-tool, and it happens to come with the type of plug that I want to talk about, and that will be one that I think may be a little bit more popular with folks, and it's the traditional bacon strips, okay? This one, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this style plug before, and it really does look like little pieces of bacon. The last style plug is one that comes from a company called Dynaplug, and this one is a bit different. This type of plug is designed to have a metal tip on top to help you insert it into the tire, and again has the rubber part, or the little sticky part, to help seal up the hole. And this comes in 2 different sizes. There's a smaller size for smaller holes, and then there's a bigger one here for bigger holes. Again, we'll be getting into details in just a moment, but those are the 3 style tire plugs that I'll be covering today in this video. Now, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I realized that these are not the only type of plugs out there on the market. These are the 3 that I have available to me. I realized that there's also a very popular newcomer to the market, and that's from Stan's, and that's the Stan's Dart. The reason why I don't have that here to demonstrate is because from what I've read, that particular type of plug does require Stan's sealant to work correctly. The idea is you put the plug in and it interacts with the sealant and creates a very good seal for a hole. I can't test that. I don't use Stan's sealant, and in a moment you'll see how I'm going to be testing it, and you'll see exactly why I wouldn't be able to test it anyway. Okay, so now let's have some fun. Let's go test out some of these different plugs. And the way we're going to do that is with this tool that I put together. So this little guy has a tire spanned between 2 pieces of wood, pulled tightly with this little ratchet, I don't know, a little ratchet thing. The idea is I've drilled a number of different holes in the tire. I have them marked so it's easy to find. And what we'll be doing is we'll be inserting the plugs, and we'll see how it takes, or see what it takes to actually have them fill in the hole. So like I said, let's start things off with the Lezyne. This one works, the way this little tool works is you unscrew the top, okay? Inside of that has the strips. You simply screw the top onto the bottom of the canister, and then you have this part here, this spiky part, that you use to, you put the plug through it and you shove this little guy inside the tire. So let's go take a look at how this works first. According to the Lezyne instructions, the first thing you're supposed to do is take this little rough end of the shaft, put it inside where the hole is, and scuff it up a little bit. With the hole prepared, you're now going to take the actual plug and insert it inside of the applicator. It's right in between the 2 little forks. You just slide it in there. Okay, now let's insert the plug inside the hole. You want to push it in there pretty good, right? I mean, not all the way through, but you definitely want the plug in there pretty far. And now we'll take a look at what that looks like from the other side. You can see I got it in there pretty far. Before we actually pull the applicator out, Lezyne does recommend to spin it around a little bit. I guess it's probably to get the sticky stuff really tight inside the hole. I did that, but you can see that it is definitely a bit of a pain to get that plug out, or the applicator out, without pulling the entire plug out. So it's pretty tricky. After pulling the applicator out, you can see that not a lot of plug is really left in there. Most of the applicators are like this. It's kind of hard to get them back out and leave the plug inside. Notice there's not a lot of space in there. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a file to try to clean out the inside a little bit and make it a little easier so that when I pull the applicator out of the tire, I leave more plug in. All right, you can see here the stock and the file. I did remove a bit of material, and now I'm going to give it another try. And same thing as before, right? I'll shove it in there. No difference, okay? And just like before, I put it in there a pretty good shot and spin it around just like Lezyne said to do. And now notice, look at how much easier it is for me to pull this out. I mean, that just popped right out a lot easier. And look at how much more plug is still in the tire. So that's what it takes to install one of the plugs, one of the bigger plugs that happens to come with the Lezyne kit. Now, if you noticed, when I did try to do the install, the first time, it was a bit of a bugger to get the applicator out of the tire. Okay, and that was because of the way the inside of this applicator, the little fork, it was just too tight. I couldn't get it out, and because of that, there was less actual plug in the tire, and that's not good. So when I used the file and cleaned that out a bit, and then I went and pulled it out, there was a lot more of the rubber plug inside the tire. So I definitely think you want to consider using the file. Let's now move on to the Wolftooth device. The way that this works, though, is you open up the back, okay? Inside are the strips, and similar to the Lezyne, you take the actual applicator here, okay, this little insertion device, and you screw it onto the full device, and then this is what you use to push into the tire. So now on to the bacon strips, and the process is basically the same as what you just saw before. I just want to show you different types of plugs. So I'll take one of the bacon strips out and insert it inside the applicator, very similar to what I just did a moment ago with the larger plug. And like before, we'll take this little guy and we're going to shove it in the hole. All right, we're going to want to get it in there pretty far, and just take our time. Here's a quick view of what this plug looks like from the inside, and you can see how far I was able to push the plug in. It's now time to remove the applicator, and you can see that when I try to pull it out, some of the plug does come with me, and there's not a whole lot of plug left inside to keep the hole plugged. Now, just like with the Lezyne applicator, I'm going to take the file to this applicator from Wolftooth. After removing some of the material from inside the applicator to make it a little easier to remove the plug, notice, look, I can actually even just pop the plug off. So much easier now. And we're going to give this a try. And, you know, just like before, we're going to put it inside the hole. Okay, we'll push it way down in there. Okay, and we'll hold the plug down in there and pull it out, and quite a bit easier and quite a bit more plug inside that hole. All right, so that was the bacon strips. Let's talk about what we learned. Just like with the Lezyne tool, after I did the filing, it was much easier to take the tool out of the tire opposed to the way it comes out of the box. I really don't know why these are so tight. I don't know if you noticed, but I was actually able to kind of pull in and out of the actual bacon strip and just pop it. I don't know why you'd need it to be so tight, because this works so much better. Now, for our last plug that we're going to go and talk about today, it's the one that comes with Dynaplug. This one, for the minimalist, you've got a small plug on one side and then a bigger plug on the other side. So we're going to demo this one, and I'll show you how this style plug works.
This particular kit comes with two size plugs. On one end, you've got this fatter plug. It's almost like basically just two cords wrapped together like that for larger holes. And on the other side of the tool, you've got just the single corded one. It's a little bit smaller, and that's the one we're going to use for this particular demonstration. So we'll take this and we'll shove it inside the hole. All right, you go in there. You want to go in there pretty far, but you can't go too far because, you know, the tool's on the other side. We'll take a look at this from the other side. It's in there pretty good. Now it's time to pull the tool out, and you can see that it comes out really easy and leaves the cord in without much of a problem whatsoever. The metal part on the other side doesn't only just help push into the hole, it also helps keep the cord in place, and this is what it looks like from the other side.
So that's how you install one of the Dynaplugs. The concept is the same, right? It's the same idea. It's a plug, you're putting it into the hole, but since you don't have that little fork-like adapter thing that you don't have to file out, it's very, very easy to get this plug out.
So why am I making such a big issue about how much plug is actually left inside the tire when you pull the applicator out? It's not like you need 20 feet of plug in there to seal the hole. The reason why it's important to me is because sometimes when you pull the applicator out, the whole plug comes out entirely and you're basically fighting with the thing in the middle of the trails. And that drives me crazy. The other thing too is simply the more plug that is in there, the better the chance the hole will be sealed because you have more plug to fill the hole. Also, there's a better chance that the plug will not pull out when you're riding down the trails because you don't always have the ability to trim off the extra bit of plug that's still out. It just seems like a safer bet, and the odds of it working are better.
So now that you saw how all three plugs are installed, I kind of want to wrap things up with a comparison of the different plugs that we talked about. Again, we'll recap on some of the tips and tricks, and we'll take it from there. First things first. Is there really a benefit to one or the other of any of these plugs? Personally, I'm going to kind of have to say no. But here's what I mean by that. It's the same kind of concept. You've got this rubber sticky cord that you're shoving inside the hole. Personally, I think the most important part is getting used to whatever device you use and learn how to use this more than the actual plug itself. So let's also real quick wrap up on the tips and tricks. You saw that filing made a big difference. So I would recommend that if you use one of these plug type devices, think about maybe filing it out because it was a heck of a lot easier to pull it out of the tire. Another tip and trick I want to give you is using a lighter to heat up the actual plug. These are all gooey cords. You know, it's a piece of fabric or something covered with some gooey stuff. And heating it up makes it softer and easier to use and can make it a little stickier. That came in incredibly handy out in the cold, okay? Consider maybe keeping a lighter in your bag if you're going to ride in the wintertime, because heating up one of these things is definitely helpful. All right, so that's going to wrap up this video on tire plugs. If you'd like to learn about any more of these products or maybe purchase any of them, I have a small kit available, a little store that you can take a look at. There's a link of it right around here and also in the description. And that has all the different products that I use to help with flat tires, and it's something worth checking out. If you're interested in learning about CO2 cartridges, there should be a video plug or click right around here for it, or it will be. That might be important or interesting for you to watch next, because when you get a flat tire, you may want to use a CO2 cartridge to fill the tire back up, but you might not be sure how that works. Well, watch this video and I tell you all about CO2 cartridges. So that's going to do it. Keep the party on the pedals, my friends. I thank you so much for watching these videos. It really means the world to me. Please be safe out there, and I hope to see you on the trail sometime soon. Take it easy.